when she said that children's strengths are not valued and their weaknesses are magnified. Their grades are more important than their sense of self. Kimmy, another mum, asked, "Will my children discover their true potential and be guided to a career that they love and are passionate about?" Conchita wrote, "I have all sorts of worries about my two daughters. I feel the current system will not let them shine, and my 10-year-old may not get what she needs to overcome her learning difficulties and anxiety." John is worried that children are gradually being taught to not enjoy learning, that it's somehow an arduous rite of passage we're all forced to go through with no solid reasoning. It's a constant battle to keep that spark of curiosity and delight about learning alive when the system packages it and sets narratives about education the way it does. Karen said, "Education is broken. There's too much pressure, too many tests, too many demands, too much assembly line. How can we reboot? How can we prepare our kids for a radically different life from the one the current system prepares them for?" Carol was concerned that the one-size-fits-all approach, orchestrated by individuals that have no business dictating educational policy, is producing students who have no ability to think for themselves and an absolute fear of failure. Another mother's top concern was whether schools are teaching kids to be creative problem solvers. Testing doesn't teach kids to be versatile thinkers. Tracy points to a deep worry for many parents. "I'm most concerned with the fact that policymakers seem to have little regard for parent voices. The culture around parent voices is dismissive at best, and those who make decisions about kids haven't a clue what actually goes on in classrooms." These are all legitimate anxieties, and if you share them, you're right to be worried. Education is sometimes thought of as a preparation for what happens when your child leaves school, getting a good job or going on to higher education. There's a sense in which that's true. But childhood is not a rehearsal. Your children are living their lives now, with their own feelings, thoughts, and relationships. Education has to engage with them in the here and now, just as you do as a parent. Who your children become and what they go on to do in the future has everything to do with the experiences they have in the present. If your children have a narrow education, they may not discover the talents and interests that could enrich their lives in the present and inspire their futures beyond school. How can this book help? So, how can this book help you? I hope it will be useful in 3 ways. The first is by looking at the sort of education your children need these days and how it relates to your roles as a parent. Parents often think their children need the same sort of education they had themselves. It depends on what sort of education they did have, but in general, that's probably not true. The world is changing so quickly now that education has to change too. The second is by looking at the challenges you face in helping them get that education. Some of those challenges have to do with public policies for education, and some, more generally, with the times we live in. The third is by looking at your options and power as a parent to overcome these challenges. Let me enter some caveats right away. To begin with, this is not a manual on how to be a good parent. I wouldn't have the nerve. I'm sure this comes as a relief, because seemingly everyone else does. From Dr. Spock to the Tiger Mums, you already face a fire hose of advice on how to raise your children. Apart from the unsought advice of friends, relatives, and probably your children too, about how to be a better parent, there are more than 4 million mum blogs on the internet, and the online bookstores list more than 150,000 books in their parenting categories. I don't want to add to the clamour. My wife and I have 2 grown children, and many relatives and friends with children of their own. We've been through many of the challenges we discuss in this book. So has my writing partner, Aronica, who has a large family of his own. We know that the pressures on parents never ease up. You're going to be worrying about your children and trying to help them navigate through their lives forever. Parenting is a lifetime assignment. It can be hard work at times, and the hours are dreadful. Consider this book to be a respite from some of that pressure. We're not living in some lofty alternate reality where everyone's having a better time than you. I do want to suggest some principles of parenting that are relevant to education and are widely supported by research and experience. In doing that, let me assure you that I'm here on the ground with you, and the advice I'm offering comes from the perspective